Thank you, Carlos. I've been fortunate enough or unfortunate enough to be chair of the Bylaws Committee this is my third year, and I think this is my third time to be in front of you. And I don't know whether that's a reflection on my service or maybe we just can't get it right, but we keep trying. We keep trying. Before I get into the discussion, I want to introduce the members of our Bylaws Committee. I was chair, Jim Carroll, Jim C. Arcia, Rick David, Jim Gold, and Tom Winkler. And our staff representatives from NASBA were Alfonso Alexander, John Johnson, and of course Noel Allen was of great help as we worked with these bylaw amendments, proposed bylaw amendments. We have 4 recommendations for you today. The first recommendation is really housekeeping. Last year we made some changes to the bylaws, and there was also some bylaws that were in place, some sections in place that had the term ex officio. Robert's Rules of Order states, the revised Robert's Rules of Order now states that ex officio members can vote. Our intent, and always has been our intent in practice of NASBA, that ex officio members would not vote. So what we did this year is we went into the bylaws and we cleaned the bylaws up to state that everywhere there is ex officio term mentioned, following that term is non-voting. So, so you'll see that, and by the way, the bylaws are in your package, the recommended in your binders. We have the electronics and electronic binder as well as the hard copy binder. And we have a section that deals with the bylaws, recommended changes, and also there's a section that shows the complete bylaws with the changes in the bylaws. But in 4.3.1, where we talk about the chair, ex officio is mentioned twice, and each time now is followed by non-voting. 4.3.2, where we talk about the vice chair being appointed to various committees, that is ex officio member of various committees, it says non-voting. Executive committee, again, we have a non-voting reference in the executive committee. And then in the executive directors committee, we talk about ex officio non-voting. So the first recommendation that we have for you, and I did it real quickly, but the first recommendation is simply housekeeping to address the ex officio and let everybody know that ex officio is non-voting. The second there were other sections, section 4.2, and I wanted to break it out a little, and do it a little differently because we added a sentence at the end of 4.2, and that sentence is underlined. And then we said the board of directors shall also include the president and chair of the executive directors committee as ex officio non-voting members as provided in sections 4.4 and 8.8 respectively. And then again in 4.4, where we talk about the president, section 4.4, where we talk about the president of NASBA, we again said the president shall serve as an ex officio non-voting member of the board of directors, and then we scratched without vote. And we did that just to be consistent with the rest of the bylaws, and shall not be counted in determining the total number of authorized directors. So recommendation number 1 deals with ex officio non-voting. Recommendation number 2 is to clarify and provide for automatic waiver of certain associates' dues. Section 3.3, and I will tell you that you'll see an underlined word there called deem. That originally read, all former directors, delegates, or persons who have been members of member boards shall be associates. And some of them have decided not to be associates. So we felt like we needed to change that to be shall be deemed associates if they pay their dues. And then at the end, we added a sentence that says the associate dues will not be assessed for past NASBA chairs and currently serving members of the board of directors. And the Bylaws Committee added this in honor and recognition of the service of the past chairs, as well as for the continuing service of the board of directors. Recommendation number 3, designate the executive committee as a compensation committee. One of the things that I have heard for a number of years is the fact that NASBA needs a compensation committee. Well, in 2012, we formed a compensation committee, but it was not mentioned in the bylaws. So we now have the compensation committee in the bylaws. And you can see the underlined, it says the executive committee, without the president, shall constitute the compensation committee. The compensation committee shall annually evaluate the performance of and the compensation of the president. And then at the very end, we say all action taken by the executive committee and compensation committee shall be presented to the board of directors for ratification at its next meeting. That's recommendation number 3. And then the final recommendation has to do with the audit committee. And as Rick has presented his report, I will present my report. We spent probably more time than we should have in trying to get the wording right on section 8.5 for the audit committee, but I think we're real close to getting it correct. I hope it's correct for a while anyway. But I'm going to read the entire section on 8.5, and it's the audit committee shall oversee the association's annual financial statement audit and internal controls, and shall recommend to the board of directors the firm to perform the audit. The committee, and this section here has got a lot of time and effort in it. The committee shall receive the annual audited financial statements and the auditor's report thereon, consider the items of internal accounting control that arise from the audit process, and make a recommendation regarding the annual audited financial statement and the auditor's report thereon to the board of directors. Now, the intent here is, as you'll see, a revised audit committee provision to clarify actions and timing on the annual audit reports. Generally, when the audit report is received by the audit committee, it's between the July board meeting and this board meeting in October. And so, in order to get the annual report of NASBA issued and published, the audit committee must first go to the executive committee. The executive committee approves the report, and then that report is ratified. The report of the executive committee is ratified by our board and was ratified by our board at the board meeting on Friday of last week. This has to do strictly with timing, and the executive committee in the bylaws, the section that deals with the executive committee states very clearly that the executive committee will act on behalf of the board of directors between meetings of the board of directors. So this, I think this solves our issue with regard to timing and getting the report issued and so that it can be published for this annual meeting. The Bylaws Committee wants to, or we do applaud the work of the leadership. We also are looking forward to the reports from the Nominating Process Task Force and the Leadership Development Task Force to improve NASBA's governance. Governance has always been an issue, and we make a little progress on governance every year, and we look forward to receiving these reports as they may require, as Carlos has already made an inference, that it may require some bylaw changes. And so with that, that is my report, Mr. Chair, and I move the adoption of the proposed amendments.
Thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy is chair of the Bylaws Committee, as you've heard, and he's making the motion, so it does not need to be a second. Is there any, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? Milton, would you stand and...
Turn back to number 2 for a moment, please.
Oh, Milton, would you move to the microphone? Somebody bring Milton a microphone, please.
Stay there, Milton. Up right there. Sorry. Yes, sir.
The last sentence in 2 there says, associate dues will not be assessed for past NASBA chairs, and it could be taken both ways, and I thought maybe we shouldn't get ourselves involved in it. It goes on to say, and currently serving members of the board of directors. Now, you could say that, therefore, either NASBA chairs or currently serve, but the way it reads, I think it's wrong, because it says, it really does say associate dues will not be assessed for past NASBA chairs, and I think what it should say, instead of and, it should say or currently serving members of the board of directors. Otherwise, it could be read to say that you're talking about NASBA chairs who are currently serving as members of the board of directors, and I think the word and should be changed to or.
I understand what you're saying. However, the bylaws are very clear that past NASBA chairs cannot serve on the board of directors. So, well, okay, thank you. I hear the discussion. Is there any other discussion? I think we're okay, and I'm a big governance guy. Bishop will tell you, and so will Jimmy, and so will Noel.
I second
what
that.
do the bylaws say? I want to know. That's the first thing I pick up is we have an issue. I want to know what the bylaws say, because that's our governance document, and this organization needs to have the best set of bylaws for a nonprofit organization. So it's very important to us. But in this particular case, Milton, I think we're okay with the wording with and, because bylaws are very clear of the fact that a past NASBA chair cannot serve on the board of directors. You want to know what a has-been is. That's when after your year as past chair, you're gone. And I've been preparing Walter all year long. I said, Walter, you need to understand that when it's over, it's over. And I say that with in all seriousness, but also with very lightheartedly too. But do we have any other discussion about the various amendments? Now, and let me assure you, on that past chair and associate dues, I didn't vote. It's not a rigged deal. And basically, we're just cleaning. We're making the bylaws read like what our practice has been.
Yeah,
what we're doing.
Carlos, you would be an ex officio member of our committee and couldn't vote.
Okay. Now, all voting delegates are in favor of the bylaws amendments as presented. Indicate by saying "Hey." All voting delegates who are opposed indicate by saying "Nay." Hearing no nays, the amendments are adopted. The bylaws, as amended, and everybody pay attention. Bylaws as amended will become effective the first day following the business meeting. So that means they're effective tomorrow.
That's correct.
So whenever you pick up a copy of the bylaws, be sure that the date says November the 5th as amended. We have people from time to time who'll go look at the bylaws, and they may be back in the year 2008 or something like that. So that's very important that you know that you have the correct set of bylaws. Jimmy, do you have any other remarks, sir?
I don't have any other remarks other than say thank you, and thank you for your support, and thanks to our bylaws committee.
Thank you.